Biosecurity has become an important part of modern poultry production. This video will discuss the principles of a comprehensive biosecurity program. Also, some of the practical measures which can be implemented on farm to reduce the risk of disease introduction. In modern poultry operations, birds are housed in environmentally controlled barns. Under this type of management system, individual bird performance and bird health can be optimized. Biosecurity programs for poultry barns are essential because the risk of introducing a disease into these operations is an everyday concern. There are several major routes by which a disease can be introduced into a poultry flock. Poultry which are introduced to a farm as day-old chicks or adult birds can sometimes carry an infectious disease. People who have contact with other birds, such as employees, visitors, or service personnel, also have the potential of introducing a disease. The tools which are used in the routine vaccination and everyday husbandry of birds can also serve as a mechanical vector for disease. Therefore, these items must be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected before and after each use. Other important vectors for disease introduction are insects, rodents, and wild birds. One component of a biosecurity program involves having standard operating procedures, or SOPs, for anyone entering a farm. These procedures describe what actions an individual must take to safely access a poultry operation, while minimizing the risk of exposing domestic poultry to an infectious disease. Every poultry operation should attempt to have some type of physical barrier which separates the interior of the poultry farm from the external environment. This barrier could be a locked gate or a chain-link perimeter fence for the farm. It is important to defend this border and only allow entry to people who will comply with your biosecurity measures. Having signs that depict the farm's commitment to biosecurity serves to educate people that specific operating procedures must be followed. Displaying approved signage will notify visitors and remind employees that they are entering a biosecure area. Limiting human traffic on and around a poultry operation is one of the most cost-effective ways to ensure that a disease is not being brought in from an outside source. Only service personnel and visitors that are essential to the poultry operation should be permitted access within the farm's perimeter. People should be informed of biosecurity measures which are in place and asked if they have had recent contact with domestic poultry or wild birds before they are allowed to access the farm. For those individuals who have had close contact with other poultry flocks, extra precautionary measures such as a full shower may be necessary. If the visitor poses an unacceptable risk to the health of the birds, access to the poultry facility should be denied and the visit rescheduled. A single access point to the poultry facility should be established where clean coveralls, footwear, and protective equipment can be supplied prior to entry. This ensures that street shoes and clothing do not come into contact with the birds. Organic matter can easily adhere to the soles of footwear. Contaminated footwear is one of the most likely ways of inadvertently infecting a flock. Boots worn on the farm should be cleaned on a regular basis to prevent manure, mud, or other material from building up. Proper cleaning of footwear with warm soapy water and a good deal of scrubbing with a bristle brush are extremely important. The entire boot must be cleaned with special attention to the cleanliness of the sole of the boot. After cleaning the organic matter off the boots, they should be submersed in a disinfectant solution and allowed ample contact time to achieve an acceptable level of sanitation. Coveralls should be washed in warm soapy water and dried with high heat in order to thoroughly clean them after each use. In the change room, the footwear and coveralls should be neatly stored and appropriate sizes available to accommodate anyone entering the farm. Hand washing stations or hand sanitizing units should be available at the farm entry point to promote good personal hygiene of employees and visitors. If possible, having shower facilities will allow for a more stringent level of biosecurity. Visitors and service personnel must sign the visitor's log before gaining entry within the farm's perimeter. Records of the on-farm traffic are useful when investigating a potential disease challenge, and also allow a farm to notify recent guests in the event that a disease has been confirmed. All visitors should be hosted by an employee who ensures that biosecurity protocols are being followed for the entire visit. Keep in mind, the physical layout and geographical location of the poultry operation can impact what is done at the farm level. Having a sound farm design can go a long way to preventing problems. New farms should be built a safe distance away from neighboring poultry operations, since aerosols which are vented from the exhaust fans can travel several kilometers. Having gravel or paved driveways for feed delivery and vehicle traffic prevents problems with excessive soiling of the tires and undercarriage of these vehicles with manure or mud that could carry pathogens to another farm. It is advised that separate parking sites for visitors, service personnel, and employees should be available. Maintaining a farm which is free of clutter and excess vegetation eliminates the environment for many pests. Having a 4 to 6 foot wide gravel border along the exterior of each poultry barn is ideal because rodents don't like open areas. If having a gravel border along the perimeter of a barn is not feasible, the vegetation should be mowed frequently to eliminate hiding places and food for vermin. This will help to decrease the rodent population along the exterior of the buildings. Rodent bait stations or traps along the outside of the barn will also help to further reduce the number of rodents entering the barn. The exterior of the barn should be built to exclude rodents and wild birds. It is important that all damage to the exterior of the barn is patched promptly to prevent pests from gaining entry. However, despite our greatest efforts to control pest populations, actions must be taken within the barn to further reduce pest numbers. Having a monitoring program and observing signs of rodent activity, such as the presence of rodent feces, are useful ways to evaluate how much rodent poison to put out and where the poison should be placed. Wild birds are known to serve as carriers for various diseases which can be transmitted to domestic poultry. Backyard poultry flocks are at a higher risk of disease introduction because wild bird contact cannot be effectively limited. Employees should not be permitted to have domestic poultry or pet birds at their residence.